So I'd now like to introduce our final guest today, Guylaine Juste. Guylaine is someone who is now the executive director of Europe in the National Capital Region. And she is a native of Haiti, came here in 1987 to the United States, got her degrees at Nova, University of Virginia, and George Mason. And she's been in the financial services world for quite some time, but now has been, for the last number of years, running since 2015, running the organization known as Year Up in the National Capital Region. So, Guylaine, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of your show, as I told you in the green room of the on PBS. So, what an honor and a thrill to be with you today.
Well, I should have allocated an hour. If anybody's a big fan, I would have allocated a whole hour for you, but I don't know if we have that much time. But tell me what actually, and everybody else, what does Year Up actually do?
So Year Up is a national social enterprise. And what we propose to do is to bring talented, gritty, problem-solving 18 to 24-year-old with great organizations such as the Carlyle Group, David, and together, bring them together so that we can launch careers for deserving young people and turn them into sustaining taxpayers, power businesses with diverse human capital, and ultimately foster communities that are diverse and at the center of the social justice movement in our country, just really make sure that our ideals of our democracy as a land of opportunity for all comes true.
Now, you were in the financial service world at Capital One, among other places. So why did you give up making money for this kind of activity?
Well, I would just say, David, first, that there's an assumption that when people leave business world, to go lead social enterprises, that they may give money. They do give up some money, but not always a lot of money. And for me, it was really about a life calling of investing forward. This country, as an immigrant, I will say this country has been really, really good to me. I have had the privilege of raising two incredible daughters who are going on to do great things for this country. And, in the Jewish saying of Tikkun Olam, I've added Tikkun Olam Shalom into it as a study of peace, that I think it was really important to me. And I felt that it was a deep calling to go and do this work.
So where do you get your money from? Who are your principal donors, and what is your budget each year?
So as an organization, we're a $180 million organization throughout the country. About 70% of our revenues depend on corporate partners engaging with us to develop this diverse pipeline of talent. And then, we're still in the contributed revenue business for about 30% of it.
All right. So if somebody wants to make a contribution to Year Up, what do? They call you, and do they email you? How do they give you money?
They can either call us, but the best way now with the social distancing is certainly go on our website. There's a lot, and we actually launch our new platform on your website, and there, I think they'll be guided in terms of how to make contributions, and we appreciate it in advance.
So in the Washington area each year, what kind of revenue from contributions do you get? How much money do you get a year from the Washington area for what your activities are?
So businesses contribute about $8 to $10 million with internship revenues, and then we're able to get about $2 million to $2.2 million in contributed revenues.
Okay, and so what has been the most gratifying part of doing this for you? Is it actually seeing people from start to finish, or what has made this as pleasurable as it has been for you?
So for me, David, it's really at the center of this work for me, what's most important is two things, right? It's representation matters, right? And having people of color moving into roles that they did not think were possible for them is really rewarding. And then at the other end of it is the social movement that says that as people grow in their careers, we're seeing a greater and greater movement of businesses rallying behind the tenets of providing opportunity for people who normally, otherwise would have been left behind.
So when you place people at various firms in, let's say, the Washington area, what percentage of those people are still at that firm a year later?
Greater than 90%.
Okay. And the people that do not succeed in staying at the firm, they just didn't have enough training, or the place wasn't good at providing mentoring. What is the biggest challenge you have after you place people?
Well, young people also are transient, right? Sometimes they'll go into an organization and decide that there's a promotion for them elsewhere, or they negotiate higher salaries for themselves. So they don't always leave because of a quote unquote bad story. There are good stories behind it. And as somebody who's invested in business heavily, human capital, you just have to work with it, and sometimes it doesn't work. And there's a variety of reasons behind it.
So sometimes people say, I don't have a lot of money to give, but I have my time.
Mhm.
I'd like to volunteer. Do you have any activities for people who want to volunteer, or no place for that?
Absolutely. We welcome everyone. We have lots of ways that people can get engaged, mentoring a young person, talking to them to share their own journey so that people can understand how people would move from A to Z. Just taking a young person out, for an office visit so that they get a sense of how that all works. And so there's millions of ways. And in the Washington area, we worked with over 300 volunteers.
So let's suppose I'm a young person who wants one of these jobs that you might be able to help me get. Do I pay you a fee for?
No.
No.
Our services are completely free. And in fact, we pay a stipend which is more of a transportation stipend for young people during their learning and development phase. And while they are on their internship, they also earn a stipend.
And the racial composition of the people you place, what would you say it is?
96% of them are Black and brown.
Okay. And today, would you say that the Washington business area is contributing in ways you think is appropriate, or you think the Washington business community could do more?
We could do more. I think we could do more. I think in the Washington, D.C. area, what we've seen is what we have a report that we published with Harvard Business School and Accenture that is called Dismissed by Degree. We live in an area that is highly educated, and so people the degree inflation in the Washington area is deep. We've been very successful in growing our numbers of corporate partners, but I really do think that there's more we can do.
The average age of the person you place is what?
18 to 24.
And the average education level of the persons you place is what?
High school.
Okay.
High school achievement.
And do the organizations where you give people the opportunity to work, do they pay you a fee, or do you get compensated by them?
Yes, they pay us a fee.
I see. Okay. So, all right, let me just conclude with, what would you say is the most important thing members of the Washington business community should know about Year Up?
Well, I just think that at the end of the day, what we're looking forward to is being a partner in this business community to help deliver talent. And it doesn't mean that we're doing it alone. We work very closely with many other workforce development in this region. And instead of spending the money to recruit the talent and source it and train it on their own, why not engage with us and let us find great, diverse talent that can make great contributions to organizations.
Okay. Guylaine, thank you very much. And I appreciate your taking the time to explain this to us, and good day.
Thank you very much for having me.